that on our screens, don't we? No, maybe not anymore.
Yeah, we haven't. It depends on what they publish.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the August 14th, 2025 meeting of the City of Muskegon Planning Commission. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Willett Leroy,
Here?
Johnson,
It is from last month.
Montgomery Keast, Seifert,
Here.
Garan,
Here.
Keener,
Here.
Mazaid,
Here.
Blake,
Here.
and Simmons.
Here. All right, seeing we have a quorum, we will review the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? There have been some amendments.
I move to approve the minutes of the July 10th, 2025 meeting as amended or as presented.
Second. Motion to approve and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Seeing none, minutes are approved. I would like to make one statement regarding the minutes. One of the items changed was the vote that I had on the agenda item last meeting regarding the Century Club. It was a motion to deny in which I said no. I did not hear the motion properly, so I just wanted to share that with my fellow commissioners, but my vote stands, obviously. So moving on to public hearings. We have case 2025-32, request for an amendment to the planned unit development to install coolers, build a compactor enclosure, relocate and expand the outside bar, and add a fenced-in smoking area at 3505 Marina View Point, known as Dockers.
So this restaurant is located within the Harbortown PUD, and any changes to the footprint of the building require an amendment. So we're here today to discuss the changes to the restaurant, which I believe will also be getting a new name. The changes include an additional cooler and freezer area, which will be added near the northeast corner of the property. The outdoor tiki bar will be slightly increased in size to 480 square foot and will also be slightly realigned to fit within the existing property line, which it appears it's currently over that. Fence will be installed and be used for an outdoor smoking area for the patrons. The existing dumpster enclosure will be removed and replaced with a slightly larger trash compactor and enclosure. We did send notice to everybody within 300 feet of the property. We did receive an email this morning. I believe it came in. It was a pretty good comment, and I'll send a picture around that goes with it. If you could pass that down. They made a note that the current dumpster enclosure isn't that appealing to the eye. It is a chain link fence that has screening over it. We actually don't allow those, so they had requested that something more formal could be put in, and staff agrees. I think if we could just put an amendment or a clause on the motion for approval to a condition would be that the new trash enclosure would be a stockade fence or a masonry wall.
Okay, thank you for that. As this is a public hearing, if we have anybody in, well, okay, first of all, do we have the applicant here? Anybody representing the applicant?
Right.
If you wanted to come forward and give your name, let folks get an opportunity to hear from you.
Red Sharmer. So essentially what we're trying to do is just gain some more space on the interior of Dockers, so it's pretty tight. That's installing a freezer and cooler that are inside now, so we're going to be removing them from the inside and placing them outside. And then as far as the compactor goes, we're really just trying to make the place more efficient. Right now it has traditional dumpsters, and we reached out to the neighbors before purchasing the property just to see if there were any issues or things they would, recommend we change, and probably the number one item was the dumpsters in the grounds. They just felt like they get overloaded on the weekends and it's eyesore. So going the route of a compactor will fix most of that. And then we're completely fine with doing the wood fence, painting it to match the condos, whatever's necessary to hide the compactor to make it look appealing.
All right, does anyone on the commission have questions for the applicant?
Mr. Sharmer, is the trash compactor going to be similar to the one that's by the deck?
It would be similar. I can't give you exactly size. It's going to be smaller though.
Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, we'll go ahead and let the folks from the public see if they have any
Okay,
comments.
yep, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone here to speak on item A in regard to what's known as Dockers? If that's what you're here for, sir, come to the podium and let us know your name.
I'm David Calkins. I'm a resident, David O. Calkins. I'm a resident of Harbortown. I came there in '93, so I've seen a lot. And I moved away and moved down the street, and because of the loud Dockers, I lived right across from Dockers. And we couldn't get it quieted down, and finally I said to hell with it, and I got out of there for about 10 years. Moved down next to Steve Garan.
Then I was too loud and then you moved again.
And Steve was too loud, so I had to move back. So, but anyway, the part of the issue, I think, was initially when Dockers was put in, Darian agreed that it was supposed to be a quiet fish restaurant. Well, it turned out to be something much other than a quiet fish restaurant, and now it's going to be something, again, different than it was. And so it's out of the nature, in my opinion, the thing is out of the nature with the Harbortown quiet area that it's supposed to be. And that was the reason that I moved, because it was so damn loud. Now, I'm living at the other end of the lake now, so other end of the lake in Harbortown. So I don't have the issue anymore, but anything you do that changes the aura of the Harbortown complex, I think, can be easily done wrong, such as putting that garbage thing outside for so long. And they still have a light that shines all night long down there and lights up the entire basin, boat basin. And just, it's out of concert, in my opinion. The whole thing is out of concert with Harbortown. And so whatever you do to enhance the ability of the people there to make money. I understand they're there to make money, and I think that the quiet nature of Harbortown is part of the allure. So anything you can do to keep the thing from being so out of concert with the nature of Harbortown as a place to live would be appreciated. So thank you very much. And I don't know what that means relative to what you're voting on.
Thank you for your comment. All right, anybody else? Give us your name, let us know where you're joining us from, and you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, this is Jim Gowdy. I actually live in Harbortown. It's 1414. I live in Dave's old unit. We've really missed Dockers this last summer, and we're really looking forward to it being open next year. We're hoping it'll be something similar and even better than what it was. So I don't see anything in the current plan that, concerns me. And just want to say, I hope you guys take that into consideration.
Thank you for your comment. All right, going once. That's it, just once. All right, we'll go to the phones. Oh, you're coming? Okay. You snuck in.
Hi, my name is Pat Reeves, and I'm here on behalf of Pigeon Key Marina, who is the most immediate neighbor, along with Harbortown Marina and part of Harbortown Condos, to Dockers. And I want to affirm some of the other positive statements that have made about having that restaurant in our community. The people in Pigeon Key Marina, we miss being able to go to Dockers and have a nice meal. So we're looking forward to reopening with its new name and its fresh look. We would love the new owners to know that we intend to be the best neighbors possible, and we hope we can work with them, especially on managing boat traffic control. It is a very narrow channel with very tight quarters, and we've gotten lots of experience working on how we work together to make sure all boaters are safe, and everyone has a positive experience. So we're just looking forward to working with our new owners to continue that, and we hope that they have a very successful next year. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, going once. Going twice. Going to the phones. 231-724-6721. If anyone would like to call into this public hearing.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
can I say something while you're waiting for the phone calls? I just want to make sure that everybody understands that I live in Hubbardtown. I want to disclose that. I don't have a conflict of interest with respect to this, but I wanted everybody to know that.
Thank you. If anybody feels otherwise, let me know. No calls coming in? All right, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded to close the public hearing. At this point, do we have any further discussion on this item from the commission?
Just from looking at the plans that have been submitted, and what they're looking to do, I think the new owners are looking to make enhancements to it, which I think will be welcomed by the neighbors for the wood fencing that they're talking about around the trash compactor. Trash compactor is also something that the city's looking at putting in, or not looking at, will be putting in at the arena. They really help with the management of garbage, so I think that'll be a good addition there. It's been successful at the deck. So I'm supportive of these changes and looking forward to welcoming them back next year.
Has anyone seen a similar compactor in town relative to noise?
I mean, there is one at the deck, out at the beach. I don't know that I've actually ever heard it operate. So it's not, but it's not very loud, yeah. So.
Have we voted on the motion to close the public hearing?
Oh, no, we didn't.
We should probably do that. Do we need to do that by roll call, or can we? Yeah, I don't
Just
think
do
so. All
it
those in
by
favor?
voice. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, motion to close the public hearing, and nobody has called in. So, given that, any final comments? Seeing none?
Fred, do you want to spill your trade secrets and tell us what the name is going to be for Dockers next year?
That's gonna be Bodox.
Bodox.
Bodox, okay.
Cool. All right. Thanks. I will then take a motion if anybody's so interested.
Before the motion, Mike, you suggested an amendment on the motion?
Yes, I would just include that you put a condition on there that the screening for the compactor area is with the privacy fencing, which would either be wood or a masonry wall. Either should be fine.
You said, say that again.
The screening for the trash compactors should be made of either a masonry wall or a stockade fence.
Go for it.
I would move the request to amend the plan unit development to install coolers, build a compactor and enclosure, relocate and expand the outside bar, and add a fenced-in smoking area at 3505 Marina View Point. Be recommended to the City Commission for approval, with the addition of the requirement that the screen around the compactor. Did you have a height requirement on that?
Should be at least 5 feet.
Would have a screen of at least 5 feet of a fencing made of either wood or masonry.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Mazade,
Yes.
Keener,
Yes.
Garan,
Yes?
Seifert,
Yes.
and Willette Leroy.
Yes. All right, motion approved. Moving on to hearing case B. Case 2025-33, staff initiated request to rezone the following properties. And while the list is long, I'm simply going to mention the street names. Ransom, Peck, Southern, Strong, Morel, Iona, from RM1 low density multiple family residential to form based code neighborhood edge. And then we have, these ones I can read out. 1765 Peck Street, 1781 Peck Street, parcel number 6124205-465-0006-10, and 1778 Sanford Street from B4 General Business to Form-Based Code Neighborhood Core, 180 East Laketon Avenue, and 1752 Peck Street from B4 General Business and MC Medical Care to Form-Based Code Neighborhood Edge, and 36 Catherine Avenue, 1366 Peck Street, 1378 Peck Street, 1386 Peck Street, 1394, 1469 Peck from B1 Limited Business to Form-Based Code Neighborhood Edge. Many addresses are listed on your screen as well. Okay. As a public hearing, do we have any comment from staff?
Yes. So, just to be clear, this is not related to any project that's going on or anything. This is something staff has just noticed over the years with the zoning along Peck Street, and it doesn't seem to be a very effective zoning designation for the area because most of the properties are actually considered legally non-conforming or grandfathered because they don't meet a number of the requirements of the RM1 district. Most notably, the requirements in the area and bulk sections where it talks about the minimum lot size, the minimum lot width, and the setbacks for many of the buildings. Almost all of them fall short of meeting either one or all three of those. So it makes it very difficult if there ever wanted to be an expansion of any of these buildings. We also run into problems when things are miszoned with property owners complaining about not being able to refinance or issues with selling the property. And for a while, this was just the best zoning designation that we had. But now that we have our form-based code designations, we took a look at this and we found that the form-based code neighborhood edge designation would be a great fit because it allows basically the same type of uses and the same type of building density and types of buildings and the building height that you would see in the RM1 district. So you'd see going forward a lot of the same uses and types of buildings. Also with the cluster of B1 zoning businesses there, I think we can all picture those red group of buildings that are on the east side of the street. Those are built in a very urban, walkable way, which we appreciate and we'd like to see continue, but they're technically not in conformance. They're grandfathered. So if there was an issue with one of them or them all having to come down, we would not be able to rebuild them like they are. So we would like to encourage the going forward to be built in that same manner. So we would like to rezone it to the form-based code neighborhood edge as well. And then there are a few parcels to the south of this area closer to Laketon, which we are proposing to zone our neighborhood core designation. This would not be a majority of them. It should just be the few that are close to Laketon. And neighborhood core and neighborhood edge are very similar, except neighborhood core allows you to go a little bit taller. You can go up to 5 stories. And with the need for housing and the ability not to meet all of our housing goals with our current density allotments throughout the neighborhoods, we think this would be a good area to try to focus some apartment buildings near where there's already different transit options like the bus stop. So for the most part, everything would be zoned to neighborhood edge except for these last few parcels closer to Laketon. Mm-hmm. And we did hold a focus group with the property owners in June. We emailed all of the property owners. We had about 15 participants. Everybody was on board at the meeting. I think about 5 or so wanted more information, so we worked with them over the next month to assure them that their future plans wouldn't be hampered by this. And everyone we talked to agreed that they wanted to move forward with the request.
Thank you for that. I'll go to members of the public who are here to speak on this public hearing. If anybody is interested to do so, please come forward now. Just give us your name, let us know where you're from, and we've got 3 minutes.
Autumn Bloom, I own the property at 1322 Peck Street. I would like someone to explain to me what it means, that the thing you want to change it to. What's the breakdown of what it means?
Sure. So I know I said a lot of technical things. If you're not familiar with zoning, it may have, not resonated. But to put it more simpler terms is the way the properties are developed now, they are considered non-conforming, which would be not technically legal. That doesn't mean you have to do anything. They can stay there. You are considered grandfathered in. But you may have issues if the building was ever demolished, if there was a natural disaster or something. Most of these properties would not be able to be rebuilt because the lots are not big enough. They're not even considered buildable. And many of the ones that are, they don't meet the setbacks. So almost everybody right now would face a problem with rebuilding their property in the manner that it is if there was a disaster. There would also be severe difficulties with anybody wanting to put an addition on their building.
So the new designation you want, what's the name of that?
Form-based code, neighborhood edge.
So what does that mean? What are the parameters of that?
Sure. So if you can look on the screen up here, these are the building types that are allowed in the form-based code. Neighborhood edge, mixed-use buildings, retail buildings, which we already have in the area, flex buildings, which are similar to mixed-use buildings, but may not have a retail component, cottage retail buildings, similar to a retail building, live-work building, the same but smaller. Small multiplex buildings are usually smaller apartment buildings up to 8 apartments, and row houses and duplexes and detached buildings. So it's really similar allotment of buildings that would be allowed. The greater flexibility here is you can have them on smaller lots to make them conforming and legal, and you can have reduced setbacks to only 5 feet on the side, which many of them are only about 5-foot setbacks on the side now.
Ma'am, please direct your comments.
So mine's I have a 2-unit building, and I used to have a business in it, and I have my office in it now, so it can remain that. That's what I care about.
Yes. And with this new zoning, you would definitely be able to continue that.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else who'd like to? Go ahead.
Cindy Jones, 1533 Clinton Street. I've actually been in my home for 36 years, so I'm right on the side of it, so just behind the edge. My understanding, thank you for clarifying that, I could not find that, the form-based code neighborhood core allows for mixed residential, which is what you were talking about. It also said commercial and light industrial uses, so that's, I guess, what I was going to ask about, what that meant. It said focusing on creating walkable mixed-use neighborhoods, which I think is great. I was concerned if we were looking at expanding the marijuana areas, if we're putting in party stores, if there's going to be in the code or what you're going to look at tonight, if it includes all of that, and we have people come in that want light industrial or commercial, do you have a out? I didn't know if that code is actually strong in here, that if somebody wanted to come in with, I don't know, automotive or something like that, a light industrial, does the zoning commission have the ability to say it doesn't fit, or is there something like a special land use that you could make an exception for that? I guess with how you have it described in other documentation, it includes commercial and light industrial. So I just didn't know if that was an issue or concern of this commission.
We'll take that into comments. So we mostly want to hear comments
Thank
at
you.
this time. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Mike Mastenbrook. I live at 1649 Peck Street. My concern is you talk about 5-story buildings and the additional parking that would cause. Right now, they've narrowed the street so narrow, it's hard to get 2 cars going each way. And there's very limited parking there, and to add more people in that area seems crazy. Also, I don't understand why you would rezone it. Right now, I understand that about 90% of the homes in the new rezoning area don't currently meet the zoning. They're grandfathered in. Why aren't we considering rezoning it so those houses are all conforming instead of doing something other that makes less sense to me in parking? It bothers me that the school right there and the children that are coming in and out of there and the speeds which people go down that road, it's nuts. The school buses do 45 miles an hour. I've asked several times for the police to come down during school hours and patrol the area. Now we're considering adding more people in that area. That does not sound like a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the phones. 231-724-6721. Nothing coming in. Okay, and again, seeing no one else in the audience, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and supported to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed say no. Hearing none, public hearing is closed. Do we have any discussion from staff at this point? Or sorry, from the commission at this point?
We're taking comments now, or are we gonna have a motion and then?
We should do that. You know, there's an
So-
order of operations here.
So I have a question. Mike, I'm interested, like Ms. Jones, about the additional ability for commercial and industrial. Can you kind of talk about that?
Sure.
I understand the non-conforming uses and how we're going to, by way of this new zone, bring those into conformance, but can you talk about those other potential uses?
Sure. Retail uses would be allowed. Retail uses are pretty much allowed in the RM1 district now, so retail options really are not going to change. The light manufacturing, the code requires that as a special use permit for a mixed use building and permitted by right by a flex building. So for those parcels, you could possibly see something very light like assembly or parts assembly, something like that, but nothing major.
But I think the key to that is that those kinds of uses would require a review by the planning commission.
Correct.
And approval. So I think that's a key issue. Thank you.
Okay, I will take a motion for any further items we'd like to discuss specifically.
And do we have the recommended,
I've got it. Just-
do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I move the request to rezone the properties as listed be recommended to the city commission for approval.
Second.
Moved and supported. And I will, any other further discussion? Go ahead.
So, one of the questions that came up during the public comment was the rezoning into something that would make sense for these properties, and I think that's what we're doing here is we're taking a zoning designation that we do have within our existing ordinance and applying it to an area so that the homes do come into compliance. The parking requirements that we have are more citywide. There's different ones in the downtown, but this would be the same parking requirements that we have currently, correct, Mike? Or
No, the form-based code is different.
is different, okay. But how does it relate to what the current parking requirement is to the?
there's no parking minimum requirements in the form-based code.
Okay. Gotcha.
So again, we have a motion to approve as presented. The parking, there is no parking requirement, as is stated, basically. It's up to the folks in the area to determine if they have adequate parking in their domicile or otherwise. Okay, but I do have a motion and support on the floor, so I'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioners Willett Leroy,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Gawron,
Yes?
Keener,
Yes.
Mazade,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
and Simmons.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We now have case 2025-34, staff-initiated request to rezone 3172 Edgewater Street, 3182 Edgewater Street, 2976 Lakeshore Drive, 2984 Lakeshore Drive, 2986 Lakeshore Drive, 3002 Lakeshore Drive, 3084, and 3088 Lakeshore Drive, 3092 Lakeshore Drive, from waterfront marine to form-based code, lakeside mixed residential, FBC LMR. Staff comments.
So this request is related to the request from last month when we requested to make amendments to the lakeside mixed residential form-based code designation, where we amended it so that those designations, the lakeside mixed residential, could have marinas as a use as long as they have frontage on Muskegon Lake. That was ultimately passed by the city commission, and the next step would be to rezone these subject parcels to the lakeside mixed residential, to bring them into conformance and give them more options moving forward. As we stated in the past, staff looked at the zoning designation, and we noticed that it's causing some problems for the single family homes. This area is made up of either marinas or single family homes, or in some cases 3 or 4 apartment houses. What we found out over the past year is that the waterfront marine designation does not allow for houses, even though these subject parcels have houses. So we ran into an issue where one gentleman had to get a variance in order to take down his house and rebuild it. We have another parcel where the property has been demolished and they'd like to put up a multifamily house that is not allowed. And we weren't really sure how this zoning came to be, so we had a focus group in June to see what the goals were for the property owners. Were they waiting to sell to a marina, or were they hoping to just keep it residential? Were they hoping to do residential and marinas themselves? And when we had the focus group, we kind of found a mixture of all of that. Some people just wanted a house. Some people wanted a house and their own marina. And some were maybe considering, selling to a marina. So we thought the best path forward would be to create a designation such as our form-based code that would allow for housing up to 6 units, which this one does, and it allows for businesses, and it allows now for marinas. So it meets our future land use map, which considers this area called Lakeshore, which is defined by a mixture of uses along the waterfront. So residential, commercial, marina, and we believe that zoning these parcels to Lakeshore mixed residential will give everybody in that area the option that they want moving forward, whether that's residential, single family up to 6 units, marinas, or commercial uses.
Okay. Quick comment before we go to.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question? So, Mike, you mentioned 6 units. For some reason, I had in my mind that we're talking 8 units. Is that something different, or? Because we talked about this at the last meeting. And
One of the property owners that kind of helped bring this forward wanted to build an 8-plex. This zoning designation would not allow for an 8-plex, so it would allow for up to a 6-plex, but their parcel is big enough to split and build 2 separate ones, so this wouldn't get them exactly where they needed to be, but it's close, and I believe it's probably the proper density for this area.
And when you mentioned earlier this would give more options to the property owners, those are the kinds of things you're talking about, the housing?
Yes.
Oh,
Housing, marinas, and then it also allows for small scale commercial options as well.
thank you.
Okay. And as this is a public hearing, if anybody in the audience would like to speak on this item, please come forward now.
Steve Schiller, representing 3172 Edgewater Street. We are all for this. We would like the Planning Commission to approve this. We plan on keeping the property residential, and we'd like to bring the property into conformance. So urging you to approve it.
Thank you for your comment. I believe there was another gentleman back there who would like to speak.
I am Dick Gezzi, 2017 Lakeshore Drive. I know Mike and I have talked about this, and I did want to build it 8 units, and I don't know when it even got changed to 6 or whatever, how that worked out, but we wanted 2 units on the main floor, 3 on the next 2 floors up. Like Mike said, we could split the property and build 2 smaller buildings, and we don't really like that look. We're going for a totally different look that would, would work good under one roof. And I just wondered if there was a chance for that could be changed to 8 units, or if there's a reason it can't be changed. So, just bringing it up.
Thank you. We'll take it under discussion as we move forward. Thank you.
What's that?
We'll take it under discussion during comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience?
Stefan Vanderstelt. I live at 3040 Fairfield in Norton Shores. I just have been working with Dick Gezzi and his son Travis trying to plan the exact footprint of the property. And just to reiterate what he was saying, we took into consideration the fact that we might be able to possibly put 2 buildings on there, but we are already short of parking if we were to put up the 8 unit. So if we were to put up 2 separate units, a 6 and 6 or whatever it may be, we are already short on parking. So putting 2 separate buildings on there would be difficult. And due to the cost of the property and the improvements that Dick wants to do, if we were only allowed to put 6 units on there, it would be hard for him to get his money back, per se, because he does good work. I mean, he does some nice stuff, and he has some really good ideas for the property. So I just think that if we were just stuck with just 6, he would have troubles literally recouping his money. So, and the parking is already bad, so that's all.
Thank you. All right, not seeing any other, Kirk, did we?
Jeff Burr here representing 3132 Lakeshore Drive, the Vikings. I'm opposed to putting 2 6 units in there. I'm opposed to putting an 8 unit in there. The gentleman has already mentioned a lack of parking. You put 8 units in there, 2 cars to a unit, that's 16 cars. Where are you going to put 16 cars and a 6-unit apartment building on that frontage? I would think 6 is more than enough. I understand the concern about not making enough money to put there, but 8 units and that many people and that many spots is just too much, too many people. I'm happy that we are changing the zoning. That will help the people that are there to make their homes right. Given the Vikings, it does not have any effect with this change. I'm just here commenting as myself, I live farther up Lakeshore Drive, but no, I don't think an 8-unit is appropriate. I don't think 12 units is appropriate. 6 units is more than enough, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, I'm gonna go to the phones. 231-724-6721. All right, I don't think we've got anybody coming in. I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, the public hearing is closed. And I suppose it's possible to have a motion to take this forward as is for further discussion, if anybody would like to do so. Go ahead.
I would move that the request to rezone the properties as listed be recommended to the City Commission for approval.
Second. Moved and supported. Go ahead.
So, Mike, I have a question. Obviously know that this zone change is not solely based on the 6 or 8 or whatever number of units, but that's obviously where I got the 8 units from last meeting. Mike, could you address that from your perspective? Obviously, the staff proposal was for 6 units. Can you talk about your perspective with respect to whether a higher number would be appropriate in that area, or maybe how you came to that conclusion that 6 was a good number?
Yep. So we tried to find a designation that was similar to what's current there with allowing housing, and we thought that this most closely reflected that. Now we are going from no housing allowed, which basically still allowed single family because they were there. And now we're going to allow those, but also going all the way up to 6 units, which is quite an increase in density. Now, I'm all for density, and I'm usually a proponent for that. But in certain areas, I think we do have to take a careful look at that. We could have proposed something higher, but if we did that, we would have to get into large multiplexes. So anything from 7 all the way up to 50 units or more. So with our current zoning designation choices, those were our options, is to either go with what we're proposing or something much larger, which would take up a lot more views and a lot more land, and obviously take away from a lot of the views of the watershed. So we thought it was similar enough to what's there while allowing a modest increase in density.
So if this is approved, is there an option for people that would want to go more than 6 units via perhaps a variance, or?
You could apply for a variance. I don't think you'd be very successful. I don't see where a hardship would come into play there. But we do have the staff does, and individual property owners have the ability to propose ordinance amendments. So if they really felt strong enough that 8 units should be allowed there, they could petition the commission to take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
And can you, regarding the 6, does this have anything to do with the actual square footage of the site whereby 6 is allowed, or is it just anything gets 6?
Well, it allows as a housing type small multiplexes, which are allowed to have 6 units.
And no current site plans or property suggestions have been put forward as of now that you're aware of across all of these properties?
I've looked at one informally, but I did not give it a full review, no.
Any other thoughts?
So, just one more question, please. So, Mike, so what's dictating the 6 units is the zoning classification?
Yes.
Okay.
If we can look at the zoning designation, and these are the building types. It only allows for detached houses, duplexes, row houses, small multiplex, and cottage retail. So it excludes your mixed-use buildings, which could be very large, and large multiplex buildings, which are usually reserved for larger apartment complexes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think some of the frustration about this particular portion of the lakeshore is that it's already heavily mixed use. There's a variety of uses. There's these little houses tucked in there between, what most folks would consider quite business, marine usage. In fact, you barely notice the houses in this district. I think you mostly notice marine as the notable use. However, I think it's on us to determine kind of the future vision there. If we allow anything over 6, that could change the options drastically, right? So now we're looking at a row of Balcom's codes, if you will, along that whole stretch. So the question is, I guess, if now is the appropriate time to make this zoning change, and if it's going to give us that outcome, this continued mix that we're looking for. Anybody? This current zoning change at the moment, is anything else predicated on this in the near future, Mike?
I'm not aware of any projects that are waiting for this other than the one.
Well, I'm trying to get a sense of where folks are at here. I think that the default is going to be to move it forward with the staff's efforts, unless there's some clear indication otherwise. So, just putting that out there.
Is the zone change going to increase property taxes at all? Or?
We are no longer taking comments at this time. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Mazade,
Yes.
Keener,
Yes.
Gowron,
Yes?
Seifert,
Yes.
and without Leroy.
Yes. Motion passes. All right. Do we have an additional item on the agenda? We do. Case 2025-35, request for a special use permit to operate a drive-through for a restaurant at 431 East Laketon Avenue by Louis Santianes. Forgive me for butchering that if possible. Staff update on this item?
So the property is zoned B2. It's been used as a restaurant and a church most recently in the past. Drive-through restaurants are allowed as a special use permit. They must meet at least 2 requirements. That being a setback of at least 60 feet shall be provided from the street right-of-way line and any existing or proposed major thoroughfare. And ingress and egress points shall be located at least 60 feet from the intersection of 2 streets. They meet both of those requirements. I can pull up the site plan, and you can see that the traffic would flow one way. They would enter off of the second most southern entrance off of Man Street and come in around the building, and it would be on the west side of the building where they would take the order. Now, that would not be on the driver's side as you would traditionally see. The window would be on their right. However, that's not a rule, and you do see some drive-throughs such as Checkers do that with their second drive-through. So it shouldn't be an issue. There's plenty of stacking space for traffic to wait in line. There's also adequate space leaving the drive-through so you don't have issues with seeing traffic. One issue I did note is that there would be parking, and we can go to the aerial map. The parking, currently the lines are slanted in one direction. That would need to be corrected if they're coming in off that first curb cut. They would have to be parallel parking stripes, or I'm sorry, perpendicular. And then also I would request that there is some kind of measure to put down where traffic would not drive into the drive-through area. So there could be some type of parking strip or some type of median placed on the road where you don't get people trying to park in the parking lot and colliding with people coming out of where the drive-through would be. Other than that, it seems like a pretty straightforward and good location for a drive-through. We did notice everybody within 300 feet and did not hear anything from the public.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. And is the applicant here today? If you'd like to come forward and give us some update about your project, your name, where you're joining us from.
Hi, my name is Luis, and I'm the owner there. We used to have Kayla's Tacos in there was where we start. One of my dream, and that was part of that. And come an idea, since I'm working outside in winter time, it's hard for me to be outside. So maybe if you guys let me do that, then we can work inside in that part. And I'm trying to bring some little piece of Mexico to Muskegon. My dream. So I don't know if you guys through that, that'll be awesome for everybody. The community is happy with Gigi's Rio right now. I don't know.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you so much.
We have one here.
One more, sorry, hold on. We have one question for you.
Are you pretty familiar with the neighborhood?
Oh yes, I've been
Okay.
there for 20-some years in there.
Okay. One of my biggest concerns is the kids that are riding their bikes and the way the setup is and the attention that could not be paid possibly to kids going back and forth through that alley as well as on those streets.
I'm there 24 hours, pretty much. I live there, so I've seen some kids around in the bike.
One more too. What are your intended hours of operation?
Right now we got once if we open that place, probably 7 to 9.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we have anybody here in the audience who would like to speak on this item, please come forward now. Not seeing anybody, so we will go ahead and go to the phones. 231-724-6721. Give folks a few minutes.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
General question or to him?
No, just general.
Sure.
Is there not another option for the drive-through, like a different way for it to go? Because I know you said that the driver's side, it wouldn't be near the window.
Well, if they did, they'd have to either come in off of Laketon, and then there's not enough stacking spaces, so that could probably lead to an accident.
Yeah.
People would be in the street.
Okay.
And that'd probably go for the same on the first exit, the most northern exit off of Man Street, I believe.
Yeah.
And so,
You probably could see some backup at that intersection.
Yeah.
okay, I don't have anybody calling in on the phones, so I think we can go ahead and close the public hearing and move to discussion. Go ahead.
Move to close the public hearing?
Second.
Moved and supported to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Hearing none. All right, public hearing is closed. We have further discussion. So we're talking about just the layout of the driving through. And there's supposedly an alley back here. It's hard to see on Google Street View exactly how that alley operates. So would this render that alley unusable because we're covering, based on this yellow line here, we're cutting off half the alley. Would it continue to be an alley?
I feel like it's cut off because they got the
Yeah, there's
store
a
right
yeah,
there.
There's not a.
I don't
way
think
to
it
get
is an
through.
alley.
Yeah,
I think it's the cutoff.
Well, you say it's not an alley, but it's an alley on the designation. So, we've talked in the past a lot about continuing to maintain alleys. Are we currently maintaining this for plowing or any other purposes?
I don't believe we maintain this as an alley.
I'm trying to look it up really quick. Keep talking.
It looks like when it turns to the left south, that's not maintained any longer. So I don't think anybody knows that
You
it's
can
an
like
alley.
cut through those trees right there. I'm pretty familiar with your neighborhood.
Is there any,
But you can still cut through those trees.
you can
right
still
there.
drive through there.
Uh,
You can still drive through
I
there.
know you can walk
Just
through.
walk through there.
Yeah.
Okay. But it hasn't been, abandoned as far as.
Not since I was a kid.
There's no designated alley on.
Okay, so it's just, it looks
yeah.
like an alley.
Yeah. Not in that space. There is an alley north and south that terminates at that point, but east and west there is no alley.
Okay. You had another question, Brad?
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for a special use permit to operate a drive-through for a restaurant at 431 East Laketon with the following conditions based on the findings of the planning exercise. That traffic flow arrows are painted to indicate the flow of traffic, and that the parking lot lines are painted to face the appropriate direction of the traffic flow. We're talking about perpendicular, right, Mike?
Yes.
And that a barrier is installed near the northwest corner of the building to prevent parking traffic from colliding with drive-through traffic.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve as presented. Any final discussion about the site or any concerns? No? Okay. We'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Willett Leroy,
Yes.
Seifert,
Yes.
Gowron,
Yes.
Keener,
Yes.
Mazade,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
and Simmons.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Good luck, sir. And I believe that is the rest of the public hearings for today, but we do have an additional agenda item. So let me get back to here. Pull the agenda back up real quick. All right, we wanted to have a discussion on an article that was provided to the Planning Commission in regards to parking mandates.
Yep, I just wanted to send along another article I saw on parking. It's something we've talked about a lot over the past several years. We've done a lot to minimize our required parking, and it seems to be working out great. We mostly focus that on downtown though, and as you can see, there's other cities that are taking it even farther into their neighborhoods, in strictly residential neighborhoods with a little bit of commercial, which has always been kind of a hot topic issue. As we see today, a gentleman was complaining about not being enough parking. But what we constantly see with developers is them trying to meet our standards. And I can tell you, as being a planner for over 20 years, parking requirements are completely made up. We don't know how to calculate them. We're just grasping at straws and coming up with numbers and equations that really don't, I don't know how we really come up with them. And it really is, limits development options when we're trying to require something that maybe is not ever going to be used. So we see, developers trying to look at what they need and develop it on their own without extra parking spaces that the city might require. So there's some big things going on in some larger cities like Dallas and Denver that are completely getting rid of their parking requirements throughout the city. And in Kansas City, it looks like they're starting a moratorium until 2028 for commercial parking mandates. So I just wanted everybody to read the article and share any thoughts that they may have on that.
I'm with you, Mike.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
a millennial though, so I think I get a pass.
I'll continue, as an individual to, focus on these type of topics, and I think moving forward, we should really look at the arbitrary nature of these mandates, because they really are arbitrary. And a lot of urban planners, city engineers, they'll admit it. It ended up in a textbook after World War II, and nobody knows why. And again, the successes we've seen in other municipalities throughout the United States, when we eliminate some of these arbitrary mandates, we've seen example, city after city, of revitalization because of the flexibility. A developer is going to have some parking, or make some type of accommodation, see how it exists, within the area. And we even see it here downtown. There's no parking downtown. By the time I left office, we had added 385, maybe 400 and some surface parking, areas throughout the downtown. So parking isn't the issue. What has been the issue is, filling in those empty teeth so that you have some storefronts and additional residences, so it doesn't feel so lonely. But we'll get there. And I think we will, because of the flexibility and the creativity that we can find within form-based code. The issues that came before us tonight gives us more flexibility and grounds for creativity. And what's key to that is really addressing and seeing how these arbitrary mandates, such as the parking mandates, have impacted the ability for people either to live, create a business, and do it more flexibly. I will draw your attention within the article towards the bottom, the Housing Ready Study. If you click on that and you go in, there will be a map. And the map shows housing ready cities, and one of them is Muskegon. And that's a direct result of the action that we took last year and the encouragement we gave to the elected officials at the commission level to finally get zoning reform through. Muskegon's been a leader. We've been recognized as a national leader by the organization that this article came out of, and we can continue to lead and be a model with our zoning, with our infill housing program, with looking at best practices that allow us to build in a reasonable, responsible way, but a way that doesn't hinder people that we found created after World War II. And again, those arbitrary mandates that nobody knows where the heck they came from. That's it. But I think we have a lot to be proud of here within this group and our fellows on the elected bench for the work that's been attempted through the past 20 years.
Go ahead, Steve.
So I think I have maybe a different point of view. I understand the need to make sure that we don't have seas of asphalt that aren't used and aren't necessary. But I think we also need to recognize that for our commerce to thrive, people need to be able to park to get to those places. And while it's great to think that we have alternative modes of transportation, I don't think in Muskegon those systems are well developed yet in terms of mass transit. People do ride their bikes. On occasion, I ride my bike 7 miles to get to these meetings. But for the most part, I think people get to businesses by car. And so I think we need to strike a good balance between making sure there's enough parking and not having overkill. And if that's through not requiring individual businesses to have the parking, that's fine. But then another entity, maybe the city, needs to have some parking available for those areas of commerce.
I think that's a good point. You know, I'm constantly kind of pushing this idea, and a lot of planners are, but each city's unique, and I know it's not going to work everywhere because not every city has that infrastructure that's needed. And I think of places like maybe the Getty Street corridor, where they're surrounded by residential, so there's not really parking in behind them. There's some side streets, but it's quite a walk to some of them. There's no on-street parking. So if a business did decide that they didn't want any, they may lose a lot of customers, which could be on them, or, you know, you could cause customers to use somebody else's parking lot, or it's not that clear cut that you should just get rid of parking.
No.
But I do want us to start thinking about this
Right,
stuff.
but
so.
if people drive to a business and they can't park in what they think is a reasonable distance, they're not going to go there. You know, and so, like I said, I think it just needs to be a balance.
Do we have a GIS layer for public parking?
No, we might have some type of map we've created that shows off-street parking.
I'm a big proponent of using the tools that we know are available to us, and I think that it's a lot easier to understand the overall parking landscape when we can just say, okay, all these streets allow public parking, here's one large parking area. And so when a business is coming in and asking, you know, do I need parking? It's easy to see, well, clearly there's plenty of parking around you. I think that any moves the city can make to use mapping towards decision making, I think it's very beneficial and allows us to have a more overall view, because there are some places where we think, well, that's not a big deal, and there are other places where we think, I don't want to walk that far.
And shared parking, I think, is a real key in some of these areas where, you know, maybe a business is open during the daytime and they're not open at night, and vice versa. They can share the parking.
And allowing, you know, some places downtown where, you know, maybe they don't really want people using their parking lot, but when Hackley Park is full, people are parking in that parking lot. They're going to park wherever they can get to. So, you know, it is sometimes also just building partnerships and having appropriate signage that says you can or can't park somewhere. If somewhere seems like you're going to get in trouble, then people might avoid it, and it could be a perfectly reasonable place to park. But I think also part of it's just culture. I think it's, you know, I walked to the fireworks this year from my house, and I wouldn't have thought to do that, except I had friends who just moved to Norton Shores, and they thought, well, we can just walk there from here. And I thought, well, I guess we could, right? But I would have normally gotten in my car and driven from the high school to, you know, closer to Heritage Landing, and it was a perfectly fine experience. And so sometimes we just have to, you know, kind of build culture that it's okay to walk more, bike more, not park so close. But any other final thoughts on that? Okay. Do we have any, I don't think we have a new business component here. We have public comment, I think is one last item. Anybody here for general public comment today? Seeing none? Okay, I'll go to the phones one more time. 231-724-6721. Seeing nothing? All right, folks. Who wants to do it?
Motion to go home.
Support.
Second. Motion and supported to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Stay here by yourself. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.